Welcome to Wrestling Talk on February 13th, 2024. Look who's here. Jim Quinlan III and rapping Ed Whittier. Rapping and tapping. How are you guys doing?
Good. Doing really good. Good.
Now I'm going to quiz you guys.
Yep.
What's the thing that we said a long time ago that would be the last wrestling talk that we would ever do? What would be the circumstance?
If we ever had Hulk Hogan or Vince McMahon on the show.
So, yes, if we don't have either of them, but we have the topic of Vince McMahon.
He knows something I don't. At least one of them I would want to have on at this point. Let's be honest.
Hulk Hogan sometimes doesn't smell like roses either.
Well, that's true.
There's a difference between roses and pig sludge.
Yes. Welcome back, Jim.
Thanks.
I've got my censoring button ready.
Yep.
There's no need to censor. We'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yep. We'll be all right.
I'll drop.
That's what he said.
No F-bombs today.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Probably.
Probably. So, okay. So right now we're in gallery mode, which means all three of us can be seen.
Okay.
But if I switch to view, or is it immersive? Oh, speaker. So now I see Ed, but supposedly as I'm talking, it's automatically switching to me on the recording. So should I trust that, even though I can only see Ed?
Actually, you know what, Len? If you can do the switching, it's probably best that you do.
Manually switching?
I think you're good at it.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
No, I won't be able to concentrate. We'll start off. Let's start off in gallery. I don't want to confuse myself.
All right, sounds good.
I've been doing good on my memory, and now you want to test it.
All right, Mr. Prevagen.
All right. I don't take that stuff. Anyway, I'm not going to advertise what I take.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't take anything, folks. I don't know what that So, in the wrestling news, there are some horrible allegations about Vincent Kennedy McMahon Jr. and a lawsuit brought by a wrestling WWE employee against McMahon, John Laurinaitis, and in some conversations and some articles I've read, Brock Lesnar maybe. So, what do you guys think about all this? What have you heard?
Well, I've heard a lot.
Go ahead, Jim.
No, go ahead, Ed, because I'll get into the nasty part.
Good.
I'll keep you guys out of it. It'll just be me that gets in trouble.
All right, sounds good. Well, I mean, what I heard about it is basically some information was leaked over to the Wall Street Journal, I believe, which was a publication that I don't read often, but I got to tell you, I read this one, and there was some things written in that publication that I am just utterly shocked that they would actually put in print. One of my neighbors is a big Wall Street Journal guy, and I haven't gotten his comments on it. I'm shocked he hasn't come over here yet. But the allegations put against Vince McMahon, it's not the first time. In fact, if you remember, it was over a year ago that he had stepped down briefly because of allegations apparently from this same woman. I'm going to leave her name out of it because I don't think it's necessary to bring it up. Everybody who has read it knows who it is. So there's no point bringing it up. I think that let's put it this way. I think there really is a Vince McMahon and a Mr. McMahon. We always thought they were two different people, but apparently they're not. It seems that all of those strange angles and things that we had seen over the years with Vince McMahon, with making Trish Stratus bark like a dog, and the Kiss My Ass Club and all of this stuff, boy, it seems now, and these again allegations, things have to be proven in court, but it does seem that there's, a germ of truth to some of this stuff, that perhaps this gentleman or this person was acting out some of his fantasies right in front of our eyes all those years, playing a character on TV, which seems like maybe it was really him. I don't know.
I mean, don't forget there's other stuff that's considered. Some of the angles that you were discussing previously, but don't forget like the draws angle where he did the throw up thing.
Oh yeah.
Everything weird that McMahon was involved in, and they made it into an angle. I've been told by sources that I can't divulge that it's legit, all of it. Everybody has had kind of ideas that was the case, but it's so detailed and so disgusting that it has to be true. You don't get that kind of detail without, you just can't make that kind of stuff. You can't make the stories. Did you read the article?
I did. Yeah, I read quite a bit of it.
I can't believe that they like you read. I can't believe they actually printed it, like with that kind of detail. With that, I can't believe they printed it with that kind of detail. And it doesn't involve John Laurinaitis and definitely Brock Lesnar. And the reason, and this is going to tie into what we're going to talk about later with the WrestleMania, which I think they may have botched at the beginning, but we'll get into that later. But I think they may have come around to maybe fixing that. Yeah. But they were forced to bring The Rock in for that when they weren't going to do it, because they needed to get the heat off of WWE and the attention away from the McMahon thing because it was that bad.
But you know what's interesting is during the whole TKO announcement, Vincent Kennedy McMahon was in the background because he insisted on being there for that transfer, even though behind the scenes, a lot of people must have known what was going on before it hit the news sites. And what's strange is when you look back and you see McMahon and his penciled in mustache looking like a Bond villain, man's lost his mind apparently. And for him to be there with all, Triple H and the TKO representatives and you name them, you scratch your head and you wonder, like, man, did TKO know about this? And if they did, it's shocking that they would have gone through with the buy.
I believe there's a story behind that, and partly it's his arrogance. He was so arrogant that he didn't care what anybody else thought. He figured he was Vincent K. McMahon and nothing can stop him. So therefore, he's going to do whatever he wants. If they want to force him out, they're going to force him out. But he's going to stand up in front of people and make, to the very last minute, he was going to get his face on TV.
He had gotten away with so much with the steroid allegations and the previous 2022 lawsuit. He figured he was untouchable, so he just probably didn't stop it. As a matter of fact, he probably stepped it up.
In the 2022 allegations was from the same woman.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or say like two women, I think. But the main woman on this focus, who we won't discuss, she's an executive. She actually knows the ins and outs of the company. So therefore, she had a lot of business involvement. So she was involved higher up in the business, and she ended up going directly to, this is the story, I'm not positive it's true, but I'm pretty sure it is. She went directly to TKO and said, these are going to become public. She gave them warning. They went to him and said, you're out. We don't care. Period. You're out. We're buying you out. You don't like it. That's tough. That's when they brought in The Rock, and The Rock's involvement was specifically in writing. It states that McMahon had to go before he would agree to take in whatever he did.
Now it's interesting, Jim, before you get into The Rock, because I definitely want to cover that. Let's talk about that NDA, the $3 million NDA. Now, here's what I don't understand. If you have a non-disclosure agreement and it's for a set amount of money, why on earth would you pay partial and not pay the rest? Is that arrogance talking? Is that what makes that sort of thing happen?
Yes, well, I mean, McMahon is arrogant, but yeah, because he didn't pay. It's like if you buy a car and they say, here, you can have the car for $10. But you say, well, I only want to pay 5. And they say, well, you can have the car in it for $10 if you pay it right now. But anything after that, then the deal is null and void. And you're so arrogant, you hand them $5 and say, you're taking $5 and you walk away and you can take the car and you go. Well, she did the same thing. She was told by him, you're taking this and that's all you're getting. But she'd already signed the agreement. So therefore, he says, well, you signed an NDA, which is true, but she signed an NDA with I think it was 3.5 million or something like that. He only paid $1 million, right? A little over $1 million of the money.
Right.
So I think she feels like she's safe to be able to break the NDA because he never paid the rest of it.
Yeah, I think that's how I think it works too, isn't it? I mean, if the agreement was broken, whether we agree with the agreement or not, and something was done in some legal means. But I think the question is that where is WWE being a publicly traded company, word has it that some of the funds that were actually WWE's and not necessarily Vince McMahon's was used for some of these settlements. I think that's also a sticking point.
Specifically, I read an article about Ashley Mazzaro, who is now no longer with us. Something terrible happened to her that I won't repeat as they were in Europe or Asia.
No, they were over in Kuwait.
Kuwait.
That was during that was during the Kuwait.
Yes. Yeah. So you know all about that. So, remember what I used to say, that McMahon always had the flavor of the month?
Yes. Yeah.
So, 1 week it was Ashley Mazzaro, the next week it was Candice Michelle, and then it was Sable, and and he would pay undue, very uncomfortable looking attention to them and work them into angles that I'm sure that they were uncomfortable with participating in. And it just always kind of gnawed at me. This is too real, and that's what I think was going on. He was so arrogant that
I think because it was so over the top, Lynn.
Yeah, it was.
We just figured it was just another WWE angle or WWE storyline, but it seems like the man was acting out a lot of fantasies right there in front of us all these years. I mean, you can go back to the Attitude Era.
Yeah,
is when it all really started.
Yeah, hiding in plain sight.
Yeah.
What better way,
It seems that, yeah.
Well, he just figured enough. You could pay people off enough to where you don't have to worry about it. But, and I think, Ed, you brought this up, it's very important. You cannot be a publicly traded company and use the WWE's money, or in a sense, if you think about the public's money, to pay people off, to hush people up. You shouldn't really do that anyway, but if you're going to hush somebody up, use your own money.
Right.
Because now you're putting that company in jeopardy more than you're putting the whole company in jeopardy, because now they're going to go and check and see, well, where did the money come from? Did you transfer the money from your account, or did that come from the company's account? Well, he's refusing to say. They're going to make him say. I guarantee you that.
Oh, there's definitely going to be a day in court, no doubt. He's not going to be able to avoid this. I think if you look back in the last several months and you look at some of the key figures from WWE who has stepped aside, namely Kevin Dunn, after 40 years of being by the side of Vincent McMahon, all of a sudden, Kevin Dunn decides it's a good time to retire. Then we look at Stephanie McMahon taking time off to be with her family, or, and asking as part of the board to not have her own father return. It makes you think that maybe they were privy to some of this information that I don't want to say they were covering it up, but I want to say they were trying to distance themselves from it. I mean, the most uncomfortable part for me is when I think of, when I think of Triple H and Stephanie McMahon, both having children, and that's their grandfather. I mean, that's probably the most disturbing part of this, is thinking that, what do those kids think about this? And hopefully they don't know at this point, but there's a lot of ugly truth coming out here. I mean, again, things have to come out in court, and then that's really, I mean, we're speculating through text messages and things that have come out. Ultimately, it's all going to come out in court at some point. And I think what's worrisome is really the family is going to suffer the most, especially the grandchildren, in my opinion.
I agree with that. What about Triple H's future? Right now he's in charge, but is that going to last?
Yeah, that's going to last.
Well, so you got to understand, in my opinion, Triple H always seemed to bring a breath of fresh air. He's an old school type of talent, obviously being trained by Walter Kowalski, and his mindset of storylines. I mean, look what he did with NXT. He brought NXT to the forefront several years back, and for some reason was asked to step aside. And he did have some health problems. Say again?
And I was going to say, Ed, you bring up a great point.
Yeah.
He's, whether you like him or not, he's basically old school, and built in the new school. So what he did was he took NXT and built it into something that you would be willing to watch.
Right.
Then McMahon wanted to make it more character, like weird characters and stuff. He decided, nah, we're going to kick him to the side, and we're going to basically make it slapping women on the ass, all that kind of stuff.
Right. He brought that element there.
Yeah, and then the ratings dropped because nobody wanted to watch that. They can watch that any night on other shows. There's a plethora of wrestling on TV now, whether it's streaming services or, USA Network, which we have to discuss the new deal. That makes a huge difference. That's driving a lot of what's going on here.
Yeah.
Their TV deal is what's driving a lot of what's going on here. Now, are you guys familiar with the new TV deal, what it includes?
No, I'm not.
I'm not.
Okay, so all WWE programming, will go directly to Netflix.
Oh,
That's no more
yes.
USA.
Yes. Yeah. Is that crazy, Jim?
I mean, from you and I've discussed this, I don't think it's a great idea, but I understand I understand because a lot of people are cutting the cord. So they'll keep their internet provider, and then they buy streaming services.
Yeah.
So they buy almost everybody has Netflix. So Netflix is huge. So if you get, but the thing is that one of the things streaming services affects is some people like to watch shows like where they binge watch.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah.
But this is not but a weekly episodic show is not a binge watching type thing. But Netflix is saying that they're going to be able to mix the two things together. So they're going to have shows like the WWE shows that are weekly draws that people are going to directly go into. And then they're going to have the opportunity to binge watch everything else, everything that Netflix offers, so on and so forth. It's a big hit to NBC, though, because NBC or Peacock, their streaming service has a lot of wrestling people that take the service because they get to have the WWE network.
Correct.
As of January 1st, 2025, the WWE network will not exist.
Wow.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Now, the question is, will the audience, as with Howard Stern and Sirius Radio, all the audience followed Howard Stern over to that paid site? Will the WWE audience, having been used to wrestling being on USA for so many years, go to Netflix? Now, you say, what is the percentage of people, you guys, because I don't know, I don't have Netflix. So how many people have Netflix versus those who don't?
I can tell you this, Len, that a lot of the people that I know, people that I work with, and a lot of people that are at this point half my age, Netflix is a part of everyday life. Okay,
Wow.
for the younger audience, if that's what they're going for, if that's the demographic that WWE and TKO or whoever we're talking about is aiming for, then it makes sense for them to go to a streaming. I just don't know how a weekly show is going to work in, like Jim says, on a site that you basically watch an entire season in one evening. I don't know how that's going to work, or a day, snow day.
But
we didn't get.
But Paramount has proved that that does work.
Okay.
Because Paramount has all the CBS shows.
Yeah.
And we do it here because you know that I've been sick and I've been home. I stopped working as of September 1st. So I've been home. So a lot of times shows that we like to watch, especially the Paramount shows, they're available the next day. So if you're doing something during the night you can't watch, you can get up the next day and watch it. You don't have to have a DVR or anything else.
Right.
It's on there. So like the Equalizer, I think is that one with Queen Latifah or whatever.
Yeah.
We really like that show. So we're able to get up in the morning and watch it because at midnight that episode will automatically post to that channel. So now if I had cable, I could have watched it that night. But realistically, it doesn't matter if I have to get up in the morning and put it on my I just go to my app. It plays just as if it was on the cable. So I think it works. I think they've proven that model works because now you've got both. And Paramount has NFL football, and that's huge. So Netflix is trying to do that sort of stuff. They're trying to add in things like live sports and that sort of stuff. So that I think the percentage of people that have Netflix is probably, I would say that people who have cable, people who have internet, I would say 70%, 60 to 70% minimum have Netflix. And probably also have Paramount. And I think, I'm just guessing the ones that I know off the top that I know.
Like Zulu.
Yeah, Hulu or whatever.
Oh, Hulu.
Me,
Hulu. You can tell I don't have it.
I have Hulu, and that's about it. I have Amazon Prime, but I don't subscribe to anything else.
Yeah, Prime. Yeah.
But Prime, if you have Amazon Prime for deliveries and for ordering stuff, then you automatically get that.
Right.
So that's worth it. But I think that the whole putting it on the streaming service works because now you're drawing those people that will watch. Peacock watchers are going to drop because wrestling fans will take Peacock because they're able to watch old wrestling shows. And the biggest thing is pay-per-views.
So let me get this straight, Jim. You believe that Peacock will still have the pay-per-views and they won't. So so wait a minute. So Netflix is going to get all of that, including the pay-per-views and the past.
All of it.
All of it. Wow. Okay.
So answer a question, somebody. How does this or how will this affect AEW and TNA and the NWA? Because are they all going to go with other streaming services?
Well, NWA, which is silly, is on CW Network, but only on their app.
Oh, okay.
And you name me 5. If you could I'll give you $10. You can name me 5. If you can name me 2 people that have in the world that you know of off the top of your head that has the CW Network.
I don't have it.
I don't have it.
Well, that knocks us out of the loop.
Somebody was telling me how great the NWA shows are. You should watch it. You know, they know that I've been sick and I've been home, and I just got off of having the first surgery, and the second surgery is coming up. We'll find out this week when it is. But so they said, well, if you need something to watch this. But you have to watch it on the CW app. So I went to see it. They wanted like it's $11 a month. I'm like, I am not paying $11 a month to watch that crap. So I'm not doing it.
How about the other ones?
Well, see, here's how I see this. I think the AEW might actually, their viewership might increase a little bit as long as their product gets a little better, increases a little bit with with the removal of WWE from network TV. This might be an advantage for AEW, at least for a little while. And if they were able to turn it around and bring their product back and do a little better job, there might be something there to that.
No.
That's true. I agree with that. But I think that AEW is going to have a big challenge because the WWE is going to have a full court press on advertising, getting everything going, and they're going to have the backing of UFC, TKO, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
And Netflix, which is huge. That deal is gigantic.
Yeah, it is.
So I think AEW would have to make gigantic strides to be. I think initially you're right, Anthony, they're going to make a dent. That dent will be not significant, but not that small. So they'll make some sort of a dent or some sort of inroads, if you want to say that. They'll make that at the beginning. But as people get used to the fact that you got to go to Netflix, and the first month that you go like WrestleMania is coming up. This year, everything's on Peacock. WrestleMania,
Royal Rumble. Yeah.
Royal
Survivor
Rumble.
Series, they all were.
Right. And up until January 1st of next year, upcoming in 2025.
Yeah.
All of those will be. But like Elimination Chamber from Australia.
Yeah.
Very.
Tell me something. When was the last broadcast of a pay-per-view on the WWE network? When did that end?
A couple weeks ago.
Wow. So that's a big thing. That makes them look really bad.
And it's not going to, but so the WWE will remain on Peacock, including doing the pay-per-views on Peacock through and including December 31st, 2024. The deal with Netflix starts January 1st, 2025. So everything transfers over at that point.
I want to get into the angle that I saw on YouTube. As you probably know, I don't really watch Raw anymore. I watch just good stuff that I hear about on YouTube, which is why we haven't done full shows like this in a long, long time. And I only do sporadic interviews with people that I promised when we were doing the show regularly that I would have them on, and we never went through with it. But let's talk about that. We have Triple H involved, and The Rock, and Seth Rollins, and Cody Rhodes, and Paul Heyman. Although he didn't have too much to say, I thought that was a terrific segment, but it was done out of necessity because crowds were disappointed because Cody Rhodes won the Royal Rumble,
right?
And they announced the powers that be announced that The Rock would go against Roman Reigns, the tribal chief.
Well, you know why that was.
Why?
The reason it was The Rock said Rock didn't want to do what they said. Well, what TKO said, oh my God, this is blowing up in our face. We need to find a way to get the attention away from McMahon dipping his elbow, in all these different places that he shouldn't have been. Or forcing people to do weird, weird, I guess is the best way to put it, stuff.
So who's saying this, The Rock?
No, this is what TKO management, the people that really technically own WWE now.
Okay.
They were saying, we need to come up with a way to, public relations wise, we need to find a way to get off the Popo story onto something else. Get us off the front pages of that. Put you on the front pages of something else. And the original plan was to have Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins, I believe, was originally going to be going against
CM Punk, right?
Yes, but then when Punk got injured, it became CM Punk. The thought was it would be CM Punk versus what's the Scottish guy.
Sheamus?
No.
No,
He's an Irish
Seamus
guy.
is Irish.
the guy with the sword.
Oh, see, I don't even know who that is. That's how out of it I've been.
And that's oh my
And, you know,
God.
Maybe I better stick to the Beatlemaniacs and What Do You Want to Do? My other two shows.
I know what you're talking about. This is awful. You see how tired I am work today. All right. Yes, everybody out there knows who it is and is screaming at us because they know and apparently we don't.
Drew McIntyre.
Drew McIntyre.
Oh, I do know him. Okay.
Yes, of course.
But that wasn't really that good a storyline, but they were kind of stuck
Right.
in because the CM Punk thing was legit. He really did injure himself.
Correct.
So they have stuck with that. But that was before they ended up having to switch to do something to get the attention away from, you know, kind of things. So therefore they decided, well, we'll just have The Rock go out and have Cody Rhodes basically give The Rock his opportunity.
Now I'm going to stop you
Yeah.
right there for 1 second. Now, when that happened, okay, I think there were so many people out there that looked at that. Now, I understand TKO's position and I understand where you're going with this. But let's look. I'm going to look at this strictly from a professional wrestling's fan, or as Kowalski used to say, "Ma." So from a Mark's position or a wrestling fan, which is not a nasty word, I will say this: that when I saw that, and I said, "Ugh, you know, here comes The Rock again, straight out of Hollywood." They just brokered this big deal with TKO that he was very much a part of. And here he is sticking his head right at the top. Almost looks like Vince McMahon again. You know, in the end of the day, that's what it looked like. And it just, to me, I'm sorry, Cody Rhodes earned that. And he should have had the spot to begin with. But what they did is they did a swerve on us. They turned around in the first week, they had everybody upset. And all the fans turned against The Rock. So to watch him slowly morph into it is very interesting.
Now, that hasn't happened, that the WWE powers that be would listen to the crowd like that since a specific incident that Ed and I know you'll remember this, when The Rock faced Hulk Hogan and
Yes.
it forced them to turn the other way. Vince McMahon in recent years had not done anything like that. So it did not remind me of that incident. It reminded me of being interactive with the crowd and being responsive to their base. And I think it was a very good move. And The Rock did a masterful job of being a heel. He got that heel vibe back again so easily.
Sure did.
And the one thing that you have to consider is the fans, in a sense, may have bailed them out.
Yeah.
The fans
Yeah.
did exactly what they wanted to do without doing it the way they did it. So the
Right.
fans caused the uproar to go away from the, you know, the
Yeah.
shady underbellies of
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vince.
crawling on the floor and doing all sorts of stuff and getting into doggy outfits and whatever it was. I mean, the story's just out there.
Yeah.
But I mean, if the doggy outfit is legit, that story eventually has to come out because that's got to be an all-time classic.
Unfortunately, it will.
Yes, but the WWE fans may have basically done their job for them. They created such a backlash that the attention went right back to people saying, oh, it became a business thing. Like, well, that's bad for business. They screwed the fans, blah, blah, blah. So then people stopped talking about McMahon and his, size, blah, 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 thingamajiggy. And it became more like, well, they screwed Cody Rhodes. It became personal and it became a fantastic story. So then The Rock screwed Cody Rhodes.
Right.
Then The Rock becomes the Vince McMahon replacement. Now, you originally thought it was going to be Rock going against Roman Reigns, but now The Rock and Roman Reigns are working together, and they attack Cody Rhodes.
Right.
And then out comes Seth Rollins, and he helps out Cody Rhodes. So now, at least, I'm not sure what night is going to be. The first night is going to be the tag match, or is that the second night?
I'm not sure.
What I
I
think
don't
is
even
going to
think they're
happen.
sure at this point.
I think what's going to happen is going to be night one. They'll have Rhodes and I think it'll be the tag match, and the winner faces Roman Reigns for the championship. So somehow it's going to end up being Rhodes, and somehow it's going to work out this. I don't know what night to do it, but what they're going to end up doing, I think, is this is going to be a double swerve. The Rock ends up being the good guy in the end because they don't want him to be the bad guy, but he pulls off the bad guy routine or the heel routine very well. So then they do the double swerve, and he helps Cody Rhodes win the title.
Oh, interesting.
So then it becomes, now he doesn't need a title at that point. At that point, he's elevated himself and he's elevated Cody Rhodes, and they've replaced Roman Reigns is going to be taking some time off, I hear. But at that point, then it becomes a feud between Cody Rhodes and whoever the next guy is.
Right.
But then you set up The Rock versus Roman Reigns for the head of the table. So now you've got a whole thing you've built up to where at this time next year at WrestleMania, you can actually have Rock versus Roman Reigns, and it doesn't have to be for the title.
I mean, can we talk about that? This is the shot in the arm that WWE needed, and not just because of the Vince McMahon scandal, but because, I mean, quite frankly, I don't know about you, but some things are interesting, but most are not, and that's been my problem with WWE in the last, I don't know how many years, several years, let's say, since the pandemic, basically, that we haven't had anything that, one, had a sense of realism in it, such as that what we saw the other night. Well done. Didn't look like a lot of acting going on, which, you know, I think a lot of fans are very vested in this. And I like the way you're talking it out, Jim, that we may see a thing where, you know, eventually The Rock does do the double switch, and he ends up going against Roman for the head of the table and whatnot, ahead of the family. There's a lot of ways you could go with this. And don't forget, Punk's going to be out for quite a while. So you still have his return. So the future in that sense looks pretty good. So I think that if they can keep this up, and another thing, it makes me wonder who's doing the booking. Now, is this a Triple H book? I mean, now your opinion? You think that's Triple H?
Seems like it.
Right?
All Triple H, and I believe behind the scenes, Stephanie McMahon is pulling the strings.
Okay.
Partially.
Interesting.
Why do you think that, Jim?
Because she was never into those weird, you know, she always liked the type of things where she was more in the Triple H camp for the way they booked things.
Right.
She never liked the weird.
Yeah,
you know,
her father found a lot of humor in that weird stuff. You know.
Well, I don't think it was just. I don't think he found any humor. He found other things that stimulated
salacious satisfaction. He found
salacious satisfaction. Yeah, I think you coined it right, Len.
So what I really liked most about that segment that I saw on YouTube is the fact that they did what CM Punk did. They did what CM Punk did back in 2011 with the pipe bomb promo.
Yes. Yeah.
And the fact that Reigns and his cousin were out for 2 years, like very sporadically coming back here and there at their leisure. And that was mentioned openly, which I thought was really good. It just added a perfect touch of reality to the whole thing.
Well, let me ask you this thing. Do you think it's wise to actually crap on the other show, such as what Roman was doing, saying that, you know, they're coming in number 2? Now, I know it's all storyline, but at the same thing, should you be diminishing the person that is holding the Flair title, you know, the world championship, which, by the way, that belt sucks. All right, I'm going to say that. That belt's terrible. Never should have replaced Big Gold. Sorry, got it off my system.
You're a belt mark, Ed.
I am a belt mark, no doubt.
Well, you know, I think that
it
works, especially in this case, Jim.
Okay.
You're not a belt mark. Do you have like thousands of TV guides?
No, I don't know. I don't have 1,000 belts either.
I was just gonna say, I saw, you know, stacking them in someone's house recently. It's just, I was going through, it was like, and I was just thinking, that's one of those things where you're not a mark, you know, but.
I like to call myself a fan. We'll say that. I don't think mark is a terrible, gross word like it was back in the day.
No,
Okay.
but do you believe what, I don't know about Lynn, what you think, but I think though that crapping on the other show, but using realism involved.
Yeah.
As long as there's some sort of truth to it, maybe only partially true, it brings a realism to it. Mick Foley and his promos always brought a sense of realism, something that was involved in your past or in your current situation that made people believe that at least it could be partially true.
Right.
Well, that's what makes those kind of things successful. With that little bit of reality, this angle and this particular storyline is what brings the really serious fans satisfaction. Okay. You know how the WWE works, and hopefully this pattern will change. You'd have for every 4 or 5 matches that were junk, and then you'd have one like this that would make you forget all about the crap that you saw. You know, so it doesn't matter. It's not going to harm anything to crap on their own product.
And look at what they did with they've been doing this for a few months now, where the promos kind of go over each, and they take shots at each other from. It generates the reason why you watch on Friday night SmackDown and you watch Monday Night Raw. And a lot of times I would watch one or the other because, you know, I was working 100 hours a week, and now that I'm currently home here in Abilene, Texas, I'm able to watch both if I would like. I don't have to, but it gives me something to watch.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times at night, Len sees me online all the time. But the reality is that I can't sleep well because my foot shakes, my arm shakes. So it's hard to sleep. So I'll sleep for an hour here, hour there. So you're around the clock up. So I can watch both. But I never had interest in it because it just wasn't that good. There wasn't anything interesting to watch.
Right.
But the promos are now something to actually watch. The fact that they did the promo where he was talking, was it Punk that was talking about carrying it was Seth Rollins talking about carrying the load for the WWE, blah, blah, blah. And then the next week, or the 2 or 3 days later, on Friday, that's 4 days. 4 days later, you've got Roman Reigns going back to referring directly to that. So it brings attention back to that show, and he goes directly at it and says, well, yeah, you can be the one carrying the load, but since you're broken down 2 months later, how did that work? Of course I work less than you do.
Right.
I got paid, but I'm smarter than you. I work 10 times less than you, but I get paid 10 times more than you. And then that same day, the WWE came out with their financial statements, and literally it was almost true. It was almost 10 times as much.
Crazy. It's crazy.
So that was based on true information. So anyway, so then that drags you. They're just creating promos that create, you know, I don't know, they're creating promos and reasons for you to watch the next week. They're
No.
going off air. I don't know about you guys, but they're going off air now. And then there's YouTube segments of what occurred after. And I'm actually watching those segments because they're leaving the segments kind of hanging. And that's great, but it actually makes you want to watch the YouTube clip after.
Right. Yeah, that actually you're right, and that's kind of a new thing, really, what they're doing. But remember back in the day when WCW used to do it, and they would do 45 minutes of scrub matches, and then they would put their main event on, and then halfway through the main event, we gotta go, we'll see you next week, and it used to piss me off. I'm not gonna lie, but at least now you got YouTube.
I think though what you're saying is they used to do that. That used to irritate the crap out of me.
Oh,
You and I used to talk about this all the time, that they would do that, and all of a sudden they would go off here, and I'd be like, "You got to be kidding me," because it wasn't like you had the ability to see those matches. So, like, I remember the Midnight Express for 1986, the Midnight Express versus the Road Warriors was on NWA or WCW television, and it was the main event.
Yeah,
and that match went like 20 minutes, 22 minutes. They only got like 8 minutes into it. And they were in the middle of climbing to the top of the rope, and they were going to clothesline, or the Road was going to clothesline the Midnight Express or whatever. And Cornette got involved. And as they're getting ready to hit Cornette, they cut away.
Yep.
That doesn't make me watch the next week. That just irritates me.
Correct.
But the way the WWE is doing it allows me to think, I'll watch next week, but I'll also go, what did happen? So you'll either go on Facebook and somebody will have a link and it'll say, after Raw, and WWE's already, they're really sitting there typing up. After Raw, do you want to know what happened after Raw went off the air? Or after SmackDown went off the air? And then I'm literally waiting for that to happen so that I can actually see what went on. It just creates a better.
So they're being clever in how they're doing it. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of things to clean up. As far as not talking about Vince McMahon anymore. I mean, in their television. And one of the things I've been complaining about for over 10 years now, and you know what I'm going to say, Len Kaplan, if they don't stop shaking that camera, that has always been a problem. Now, to me, you've got Kevin Dunn is gone, and you've got Vince McMahon are gone. Does that mean the shaking goes away?
And Laurinaitis.
Yes. But I'm not sure what kind of influence he had on that. I think McMahon really loved to shake that camera. And it's funny because when you watch some of these matches, watch them closely. You'll see some camera guys or gals won't shake the camera, but you can tell the ones that have been there for a while because they're still doing it, especially when they get thrown outside the ring. And it's supposed to be, a lot of mayhem going on. There's a lot of fighting. Somebody goes through a table. Stop shaking that camera. It drives me crazy. I've always said this, Len, let the action speak for itself.
Exactly.
And hopefully that's the track we're on.
I want to talk about the other two problems that I see in WWE, and hopefully this will change with the new management. Number one is the 3-hour Raw show. It doesn't need to be 3 hours.
I agree.
And number two, even worse, the 2-day WrestleManias and other pay-per-views. Is that the only one that does 2 days? Or is it Survivor Series and Royal Rumble? Do they do 2 days for that too?
No, I think it's just WrestleMania.
I mean, the idea that more is better, it doesn't work.
No.
And I think Reed promoted that decision.
Now I've got both of my sons are wrestling fans. One is more WWE, that would be Ryan, and the other one is more AEW, that would be Eric. Now, when it comes to pay-per-views, we like to watch both. We watch both, but it is exhausting. I'm not going to lie. Yeah. It's almost to the point it's just too much. They're trying to get everybody in on the big. Everybody's got to have, Len, their WrestleMania moment.
Yeah.
And that's what happens when people say things like that. It's like, oh, we got to make sure we get this guy or this girl on. And it's exhausting.
Yeah. And then I don't know. I don't know if I can I don't know about you guys because I haven't really talked to you guys for a while. Do you guys still go or like to go to live events?
Go
Well,
ahead, Jim.
go ahead. I'll kick it after you.
Well, I'll say yes and no. I'll go if invited, I'll go. I don't necessarily enjoy it, and I think that's being around large crowds. And that has nothing to do with the pandemic. I
Yeah.
just don't. I don't like being squeezed in. I
Yeah.
had my knee replaced. It's hard to squeeze into these little, these seating that they have at the Boston Garden and some of these other venues. To be honest with you, I would rather go to a local show like what Sheldon used to put on. And, to be honest with you, because at least there's a little room there.
Yeah.
And I like that personal interaction with the performers that you had with local wrestling. You don't have that. I mean, unless you're sitting ringside. Now, Eric and Ryan were fortunate enough that they sat ringside at AEW. I watched them on an AEW pay-per-view the whole time. They were at the Steadicam on TV, and they had a
Wow.
great time. So
saw
unless I'm that close, it's I don't know. It's kind of lost its shine with me, I think.
What about you,
Well,
Jim?
well, for me, I really do like to go to live events, and I love watching the pay-per-views. But 2 days is too much.
Yeah.
Way too much.
Yeah.
I mean, it's too many days in a row. But I know why they're doing it. Because they're trying to get everybody their WrestleMania moment and get everybody exposed to the biggest audience. So for that one day, I'm willing to give that to them. But if they're trying to do two for everybody, that would drive me crazy. But there's too many pay-per-views out there too. Who can afford to pay? How much are the AEW pay-per-views? $30?
Yeah. How much? Well, my son buys them. I think they're $50 for AEW, and he pretty much he gets most of them. He gets them all. Ugh. I've been told he gets them all. Ooh.
Yeah.
I don't pay for those at all.
Yeah.
But remember that we pay for Peacock, and in a sense, we pay for Netflix. So
Right.
that'll be included. So we're able to watch. And that's another thing. That's good for WWE. They may lose people. They don't maybe necessarily get as many people pay-per-view. But if you're buying Netflix and you're getting the pay-per-views included, that's actually a pretty good deal. $10 a month, whatever. I don't know what Netflix is, $14 a month, something like that.
Yep.
But then if you're including at least one WWE pay-per-view a month, and that's included, then if you're a wrestling fan, that really works.
It's my understanding, Jim, that the WWE network still exists over in Europe. Have you heard that? That's how they still see WWE Network.
Yes, and you still can see WWE Network in on Peacock. It's kind of like a separate. If you click on it, it literally has WWE Network.
Right.
But in Europe, that is how you watch pay-per-views through the WWE Network. That's a separate entity from, because Peacock somehow doesn't have some sort of a license with the Europe. That's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
As for me, I'm
local
going to
shows,
weigh in here on my opinion about live events. The small VFW shows, I just can't sit in those environments anymore. It's either too cold or it's too hot or it's too
oh my
long,
God.
and I'm sore when I get up.
No, you know what it is, Len? You're still upset that ECW fan spilt that beer all over your back in Revere.
That's a long time ago.
It was a long time.
I went
You
to a
were
lot of
so
shows
upset.
since then. Yeah, that was a pretty upsetting. I didn't want to smell like beer. But it would take a lot for me to get out and see. I'd rather go to like a signing or something, I think.
Yeah, I like signings.
Well, I've been to, like, since I've been here, I don't go, since I got diagnosed with Parkinson's, it's difficult to go a lot of places.
Yeah.
Crowds are a little bit difficult. You have to time it correctly, because basically what happens is, and right now my shaking is starting to come back, but like, I took my medication early. We were planning on doing this. Luckily, I took my medication early, figuring that it would take time to kick in. It only lasts like 2 hours. So then I've got like 4 hours to hold off to the next dose. So as it goes through, it works less and less and less. So you get less time that you shake and more time in between that it doesn't work. So right now I'm in a good position so that if the show is at 7, I really have to figure my medication out so that I'll be able to enjoy it, because it takes 45 minutes for the medication to kick in. So then you've got to figure, and then you've only got 2 hours. So if there's a 3-hour show, halfway through the show, you're not going to enjoy it. You're shaking,
Right.
and
Right.
your vision is not very good. The crowds at that point bother you. But I have been to a couple of local shows. One here at Abilene that I went to. I mean, let's be honest, it was not exactly the best quality show, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But my nephews all went. My sister went and my niece went, and all my nephew's friends went. So we had a crowd of like 10 or 12 of us that went. We all had a great time, but I think it was more because we were enjoying it and allowing us ourselves to enjoy it.
Right.
But I wouldn't necessarily go by myself to do it.
Right. No, I agree.
But I won't go to concerts anymore without that either, because same situation. I've got to be able to plan when to be able to go to something like that. I literally have to plan in and around the time that it actually exists.
Right.
Now, as far as your medication, you can only take that once a day. Is that the story?
No, right now, unfortunately, my condition has gotten to a point where I have to take a lot more than is recommended. So I started at a certain level back 7 years ago. I was taking 1 pill a day, like for a while. Then it became 2 pills a day. Then it became 3 pills a day. Then it became 4 pills a day. And then it became 4 pills times 2 times 4 times a day. Then it became 3 times 4 times a day. Now we're at 4 times 4 times a day, plus 2 other medications twice a day through pills, plus 3 or 4 other medications, plus an additional same medication for Parkinson's. I take that twice a day on top of everything else. So at this point, it's kind of like a toxic level of taking medication. So
Yeah.
the plan is currently to be able to lower that. There's only one way, and that's through what's called a brain stimulator surgery. And basically, quick and easy way to describe it is they will, and I just had spinal surgery to fix my spine because from all the years of Parkinson's, I've gotten shorter, kind of. I mean, we all do in our old age. Well, you can ask Lynn. I don't know about Ed, but Lynn,
I'm getting up there.
Yeah, I know, but so my back had gotten like kind of crimped over, kind of, because I don't know if you know what Parkinson's, but your muscles like freeze. You I don't know how to describe it. You shuffle a lot. That's the sign right away. The shaking is one thing. The shuffling of your feet. You're constantly looking down to make sure you don't fall. I mean, it's just one of these things that your mind automatically creates. Make sure that your body and your mind basically work together to help cause you not to fall. So I look down a lot, and that becomes a permanent situation. So before they can do the surgery to fix the Parkinson's or address that, they have to straighten your back out so that your spine is up and down, so that you won't be as dip, so to speak. Because once they do the surgery that I'm going to describe to you real quick, and I'll just do the easy version, it can't be redone. So it's a one-time shot. It's your ability. And then at that point, if it works, they can lower your medications to where it's non-toxic levels. You still have to take some, but then instead of it working maybe 3 hours, 4 hours a day of relief, you probably get 20, 22 hours a day of relief.
Wow.
So what they basically do is the 2 days before the surgery, they will stop my medication completely. So I'll take no medication, which means I will be off air. I won't be doing anything because there'll be no stopping the shaking. And my left arm, it's this one here, when I'm shaking, it literally goes like this So I can't drink, I can't eat, I can't change, I can't dress myself. I can't do any of that. I can't go in a shower, like any of that without making sure that somebody is home. Somebody is falling is something I do often because you have bad, dizziness spells, terrible dizziness spells, like awful dizzy spells. So falling is something you do all the time. So what they basically do is while you're awake, and I know this is going to sound gross,
Yes, it is.
they take and they lay you on the table and they drill holes like this long rods through your skull in 4 or 5 different places. And they drill into your brain from the skull. Now they've already done an MRI to make sure that they know where to do it because everybody's different. Some people have big fat heads like I do. You guys know my head's not been very small over the years. But they insert these rods. When they take them out, they only have little bits, pieces, like there's only little like antennas, those old TV antennas kind of things.
Yeah.
Basically, that's what it looks like, but it's not extended out. So you're not going to see rabbit ears on my head. It's just these little teeny stubs, and they're attached to a heart pacemaker. The heart pacemaker. The person gets a heart pacemaker installed, and an electrical stimulation goes in, and the person's having a heart attack or whatever, and it basically shocks them. Well, this is similar to that, but not exactly. But it's the same idea. Those electrodes go to a implanted device that sits on my chest. You just wear your shirt over it, no problem. And during the surgery, they've already lasered it out. They've done an MRI where you can't move. So they put you asleep the day before. And they basically look to line up the correct diodes or whatever. Then it's connected to the electrical machine or whatever. And they turn it on. And if your violent shaking stops, then they know that particular probe works. Then they go to the next one. And if nothing happens, doesn't stop the shaking, because every place that shakes differently. Your head shakes, your face shakes, your hand shakes, your feet shake, your body shakes, but they all have different parts of your brain that cause different places for you to shake. So my left side basically shakes the worst. So they will then put these probes and they'll make sure that they line them up. The reason why they keep you awake is they want to know if you can feel that, like they want you to know that, did you feel the shaking stop? Because you can feel the shaking stop and stop.
Wow.
So once they determine that each thing is working, they sew you back up, and then they send you home for 2 weeks after you've been in the hospital for a day or two. That's like 2 weeks. They send you back to the programmer. Same idea. That basically the neurosurgeon, goes in and takes that program information that they got the first day, and they dial it back up, and you walk in, and they tape you walking in, and a lot of times you're slouching, you're shuffling. Shuffling is the worst. That's the worst thing for a person, is shuffling your feet. Once somebody starts shuffling their feet, they got a problem, because it's dangerous. You will trip over yourself, or you're not able to function. And you've seen old people do that. And I do. I got videos I'd show you. It's disgusting. Like if I go outside, exercise, I come back inside and I'm shaking for 3 hours without stop.
Wow. Hey, Jim, our Zoom is going to end any minute here, so I think we better end the show. Thanks for coming on. Ed, thanks for coming on. Jim, when is your surgery, the next one?
We won't find out until Friday.
Okay. So maybe, who knows, maybe we'll do another show before that happens. I don't know if you guys are willing.
Yeah, I'm up for it.
Ed,
Yeah.
keep in touch, Ed. We haven't talked in a few years.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right.
So, thanks again for coming on. And we dealt with a very horrific topic. happening in the news and wrestling at the very top.
Yes, and I got the word popo in. You have to admit that's perfect.
Yes. So until next time, I'll join people next time, and maybe Jim and Ed too. This is Leonard Kaplan for Wrestling Talk saying so long and stay in the ring.